This video is over writing and graphing linear inequalities. So first let's talk about what an inequality is. How could we write all numbers less than 5? Well, we could just start listing them. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, and on and on and on. And it would go on forever. And this doesn't even include the fractional numbers we could add in there. So this is an infinite list. So it would be impossible to list all of the numbers less than 5. So we have some notation that we're going to learn that allows us to indicate this. Now, if we let x represent every number that is less than 5, then we have a symbol called a less than symbol, and then we would put 5 in this. You would read this, x is less than 5, and this is an inequality. So we're going to learn what these symbols are and how to use them in this video. But first, let's look at a little bit of vocab. When you see the word at most, because a lot of times in real life situations, you're not going to say more than and less or less than. You're going to say at most or at least. When you say at most, that means that whatever number you're talking about is the top number or the top value, and everything else is less than that or equal to it. So if we were going to write something like, I have less than $5 in my pocket, and I have at most $5 in my pocket, that would mean I have less than $5. So again, I would use the inequality. If I used x to represent the money in my pocket, it has to be less than or equal to 5. At least, when I use the term at least, that is the bottom number. And everything has to be greater than or equal to that. Okay, so let's use the example, I work at least 8 hours a day. So again, if x represents my number of hours, I could say x, and remember it has to be more than or equal to, has to be greater than or equal to 8. So at most, you use a less than, at least you use a more than, or a greater than. All right, now let's write down all of the inequality symbols and what they mean. So pause your video and write down these meanings. Do that now. Now that you have all of these meanings written down, let's give some examples. Like on this first one, we're going to use our x is less than 5 like we did before. Notice that less than points to the left. I've also had kids say less than means it's pointing to my left hand as a way to remember this. If it's pointing to the left, you read it less than. Now to graph this, I don't want you to spend a huge amount of time on graphs. You really only need 3 numbers. The number you're talking about goes in the middle, and then you need a number below that and a number above it. Now you can add more to your graph, but that's kind of just a waste of your time. When you are talking about less than, we indicate that on a number line graph with an open circle. So since it's less than 5, I put my open circle at 5. And less than, on a number line, you would go to the left. So you're going to shade to the left. And we're going to put an arrow there indicating it goes on forever. More than always points to the right. So I work more than 8 hours. Again, if I was going to graph that, I would put my 8 in the middle, because that's the number I'm working with, a number on the left and the right, and again, since there's no line underneath it, I'm going to use an open circle to indicate that on a graph, and x is greater than or more than is going to be shaded to the right on my graph. Less than or equal to is indicated with this little line. See if I can put underneath there. That is the or equal to, and it doesn't have to be both of those things. It just has to be one or the other, either less than or equal to. So let's use the example, x is less than or equal to 7. To indicate this on a number line graph, I'm going to create a number line with 7 in the middle, and this time when I see this little underline that means equal to, I use a closed circle on my graph. And this says less than, so that means I am shading to the left. Greater than or equal to would be written like this. X is greater than or equal to -2. So to indicate that on a number line, I would use, again, since I have that little underline, a closed circle. And I am going to shade to the right. Now, I went through that pretty fast, so pause your video right now and finish filling out all of this information that we have added. Now that you are back, let's use this. I want you to practice writing and graphing. X is less than 8. Now, we're going to use X is less than, points to the left, and 8. Make a number line with your 8 in the middle. It's going to be an open circle, and less than is all the numbers that are less than 8, so that's to the left, so that's the way we're going to shade. Y is greater than or equal to -2. So we would write this as Y is greater than or equal to -2. Create your number line with -2 in the middle. Now you have to be careful because this is negative numbers now, so they are reversed from positive numbers on a number line. And since there is a line underneath it here, we know we're going to have a closed circle, and Y is greater than, we are going to shade to the right. Write the following in words. Well, remember that if it's pointing to the right, you're going to read it greater than, and if it's pointing to the left, you're going to read it less than. You need to memorize that. So this first one is going to be X is greater than -8. And the second one is going to be 9 is less than or equal to M, because we have the little line underneath the less than symbol. Determine which number is a solution. So how we're going to do this is we're just going to direct substitute these numbers here in where X is. So let's do our first one. Let's take -5 and put it in that equation, or that inequality, and solve it. Now you're going to use your calculator or your calculator brain, and you're going to say -13 is greater than or equal to 8. Well, that is not a true statement. Negative numbers are never greater than positive numbers, so -5 cannot be a solution. Let's do the exact same thing with 8. Let's put 8 in for X and solve that. And we get 13 is greater than or equal to 8. Again, that is not a true statement. Oh, silly me. That is a true statement. 13 is greater than 8. I was thinking -13, sorry. So since that's a true statement, 8 is a solution to that inequality. All right, let's put -2 in there. See what we get. And we get -7 is greater than or equal to 8. It's a negative number is not greater than positive number, so that can't be true. And you may already know that this next one is not true. If you have good number sense, but if you need to work it out, and you will see that -1 is not greater than or equal to 8. So it cannot be a solution either. Now, I want you to pause the video, and I want you to do this next one on your own. I want you to actually put each one of these numbers, -1, -3, -2, and 0, into this inequality, and tell me if you get a true statement. Pause your video, work them out, and then come back. All right, let's compare your answers to mine. I got that 10 is less than 10. Now, you have to be careful on this because it doesn't say 10 is less than or equal to 10. Since it doesn't have that equal, that this is not a true statement. 10 is not less than 10, so that cannot be a solution. Let's put -3 in there. Did you get that 25 is less than 10? Well, 25 is not less than 10. That's not a true statement, so that can't be true. Let's put -2 in there. And 15 is less than 10. That is not a true statement either, so I'm thinking 0 is going to work. So let's put it in there and make sure. And sure enough, 5 is less than 10. So my solution here is going to be 0. So you're just taking the numbers and you're substituting them in place of x to determine whether the number is a solution. Cheryl has at least 20 cats. Now remember, at least means that is the bottom number and everything's bigger than that. So write an inequality using C for cats. So we know we have C and we know we have 20. Now, again, at least, that's my bottom number. So C has to be bigger than that, or it could equal that. So I'm going to put greater than or equal to 20. And then to graph that, I'm going to make a graph with 20 in the middle. I'm going to use a closed circle and shade to the right. I think you have what you need to do your practice.